Angular is all about components, so our first set of checklists are for building a component. We create a class for the component with code to support the view. We use a decorator to define the component metadata, which includes the HTML for the component's template. And we import what we need from any third-party library, from our modules, or from Angular itself. When creating the component class, we give it a clear name. This is not only the name of the class, but the name of the component as well. Be sure to watch the casing since JavaScript is case-sensitive. By convention, use Pascal casing, whereby every word of the name is capitalized. It is common to append component to the end of the class name to make it clear that it is a component class. Be sure to include the export keyword on the class signature. Recall what the export keyword does? It makes the class accessible to be imported by other parts of the application. If the component view displays data, such as a title, the data element is defined as a property of the class. To leverage TypeScript's strong typing, be sure to set the appropriate data type for each property, and set a default value where appropriate. Use CamelCase for property names with the first letter lowercase. If the component view has functionality, such as hiding and showing an image, the logic is defined as methods in the class. Use CamelCase for method names with the first letter lowercase. How do we define the metadata for our component? If you set a component decorator, you are right. A class is not a component unless it has a component decorator. Be sure to prefix the decorator with an @ Since a decorator is a function, add parentheses and pass in the appropriate object properties. Use the selector property to define the name of the component when used as a directive in HTML. Be sure to prefix the selector for clarity. Note that the selector property is not needed if the component is not used in any HTML, as we'll see later in this course. Use the template property in the component metadata to define the view's HTML. Since we define the HTML in a string literal, we often get no IntelliSense or syntax checking, so take care to define correct HTML syntax. We'll see alternate ways to create the template for a component in the next module. So why do we need to use import? The import statement tells Angular where to find the members that this component needs from any external modules. The import statement requires the import keyword, followed by the member name and module path. Take care when defining the member name as it is case sensitive. The path to the module file must be enclosed in quotes and is also case sensitive. And remember that we don't need to specify the file extension. In this module, we detailed what a component was and how to build one by creating a component class, defining the metadata, and importing what we need. And we discovered how to bootstrap the component we built to bring our application to life. Here again is our application architecture. In this module, we built the app component and have the very basics of our application working. Next up, let's take a closer look at templates and how Angular can power them up with binding and directives as we start building the product list component.